Good evening, everyone. It's Roman Rich. Good to see you back on this Sunday for 66 Minutes with Roman Rich. This is episode number 4. That's right. We've gotten past the third one. We're into the fourth one. Each week, we've got some compelling guests that we'll share with you. We talk about Route 66. And we also invite some live chat and comments from all our viewers out there. So it's kind of a special show. I hope you enjoy it. First things first, while you're tuning into this, do me a favor and share the video. I do this for basically my goodwill to humanity. I love Route 66. I'm a preservationist, a historian, researcher. I also happen to be the president of the Missouri Route 66 Association. So I do all this to bring Route 66 to people all over the world. So you can help me out with that by simply sharing this video, whether you're seeing it on YouTube or Twitter or Facebook or wherever. Please share it with all your friends. I'd really appreciate that. We're going to spend the next 66 minutes talking about Route 66 and various subjects related to Route 66 is the most famous road in the world. You can catch us every Sunday at 7 p.m. right here, Central Time. We'll try to get some marketing and some advertising out, talking about what's coming up next on our next episode. We've done that a couple times already, and I kind of goofed it this week and had so much on my plate I couldn't do it. So I apologize, but stay tuned and you'll see over the next few days, maybe we'll have our next guest pop up. So at any rate, you can find us again, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and now on Twitch. That's just something we started last week. If you happen to use Twitch, we're there. I don't know much about Twitch, but if you know much about it, hey, drop me a line and let me know what your recommendations are. If you want to catch up on any old videos, our previous episodes like 1, 2, or 3, this is episode 4. You can just go to my YouTube channel and then look under the category live videos. And that's where you'll find all the old live streams that we've done. And you can share those too. We really love it. So again, we try to have a different guest every week. We've got a live chit chat. Some of the shows are going to be shot on site, and we'll get into that a little bit. We've got one planned for later this month that's going to be live on site. We take requests. Every once in a while, you're going to see us pop up a little QR code on the screen. That QR code will kind of give you a link to special events or things that I'm discussing on the page. So like right now, you see the donate link. That's your cue to donate if you feel compelled to do so. All right. So be ready with your questions wherever you're at. We've got producers standing by, watching those chat forums, looking for your comments and suggestions, and we'll try to use those in the show. You can feel free to give a shout out if you like, all that good stuff, and we'd love to see your participation. All right, so the first thing I usually go into on the show is Roman Rich's t-shirt. So today, I'm wearing a Jungle Jim's Cafe t-shirt from out of Springfield, Illinois. Let's see the t-shirt up close, guys. There it is right there. So this particular shirt is one of the first shirts I ever bought when traveling Route 66. And I wasn't real big into stopping at like tourist stops and stuff like that. I was more of a researcher when I first started out doing the Route 66 thing. I got this particular shirt in 2009. It's really special to me because abruptly, about 2 months ago, Jungle Jim's closed, and that's really sad. It's a neat place. Maybe we could show a couple pictures of it. And there's the outside of it. I'm sure it's still there and everything, but it's just kind of a bummer to see some of these places come and go. So it's like everything I always recommend. You always want to take pictures and get those experiences. That's me. In that photograph, 2009, with my eldest daughter, Lily. She's about 18 months there, and I probably look like I'm about 15. So it's one of the first places we stopped at when we were traveling as a family, and I just have a lot of good memories of it. There's lots of cool things in that cafe, and it was one of the few places we went to my daughter had colic really bad for the first 2 years. And it was one of the places we went to. We went inside. There was so much visual and audio stimulation that Barbie doll, they would fling that Barbie doll across the whole restaurant back and forth for order. Oh, I don't know, like one of those wires ever that swing across the, like what you do, like you're right on and you go like to Merrimack Caverns and stuff. Anyway, it was pretty neat. But so I love wearing Route 66 t-shirts. It just gives me a souvenir to show off later. It helps support the business. It helps promote the business. And it helps kind of foster those memories we talked about. Keeps the money going into small businesses, which is so if you have a t-shirt that you'd like for me to wear on the show, I would love to wear it. Just hit me up on Facebook Messenger or something. I'll send you my address. I wear an extra large. I would love to wear your t-shirt and promote whatever it is you have on Route 66. Next week, I have one to show. It came in this week from a very good friend of mine out of Arizona. I didn't wear it this week. I'm going to wear it next week's episode, but I already gave you a hint. You'll have to watch next week to see who it is for sure. So moving right along, tonight we have a very special guest. To me, I consider him a very kindred spirit. We do a lot of things alike. We've got a lot of common interests, and he's just a really cool guy, even though he's from Michigan and doesn't live along Route 66. But I'm sure he would change that if he could. Please welcome from Bay City, Michigan, Scott Sheehan.
Thanks, Rich. How you doing?
Good to have you. How's it going, Scott? How is it? Is it cold up there? Is it warm?
Today wasn't bad. It's about 60 degrees though. I was out working in a t-shirt earlier.
Yeah. You're about on what, your 8th month of winter now?
Yeah, 7.5.
7.5. Yeah, you guys typically have like, what is it, 10 months of winter and the rest is just spring, summer, fall real quick?
Yeah, real quick. It can snow about 7 months of the year here.
Yeah. Well, you get a lot done for being in such a cold environment. So tell me a little bit about your background there. You got quite the collection. You're kind of making me jealous here.
Right now, there's just a couple signs out here. I'm in the process of moving right now. My wife and I just bought this house and shop that I've been working out of for a long time. And we're setting up the shop right now, so I only have 2 of my signs out right now. Would you like me to take you a look at them or just discuss it right now?
Well, we can talk a little bit more about it in a second. George, let's kind of, we had an interested viewer. I think it was on episode 1. Christopher Cook was the viewer, and he had mentioned the LeBron neon sign, which I thought was uncanny because I knew who owned that sign. I knew it was you that had the sign. And there it is. We're showing it right now on the screen in its native environment when it was still erected. That was tell us where that was from. Tell us a little bit about that sign, Scott.
That was in Needles, California, right on 66. I think the last time I photographed it was 2016 or maybe 2013. I think I came through there in 2016 and noticed it was gone, and the building was gone as well. A couple years later, right in the late summer of 2019, it popped up on eBay. I usually check eBay just for Route 66 items, and there it was. And I said, well, now I know where it went. And
who was selling it?
They had taken it down very unceremoniously. They bent the bottom arrow, broke some neon on it, and the lady at the museum in Needles ran over and said, "Can we grab that sign?" The property owner gifted it to her, and they kept it for about a year, and it sat in the front of the El Garces, right on 66, for everybody to see for almost a year. She told me that nobody basically showed any interest or asked about preservation. They just sat there, and they needed to do some security upgrades, so they decided to put it on eBay. and I happened to win it.
Yeah, I think you and I talked about it, and I thought, man, this is insane. He's going to buy a neon sign all the way from California. How is he going to get it? And here we're popping up images of the guys moving it for you,
Right.
and on a forklift right now.
Yeah, I can't believe it made it all the way to Michigan on an open trailer. It's like 3,000 miles. And
yeah, on a trailer, and when you got it, it still turned on to some degree, didn't it?
it hadn't turned on in years. And my friend and I, we just started poking around inside and looking where wires should be, where wires are broken off. And lo and behold, we plugged it in and it fired up. I had a neon friend in Texas, Jack Halsey. He told me how to jump a couple spots on the other side. And then we got the arrow and the entire motel to light up.
Well, it's really a neat sign. If you don't mind me asking, you don't have to answer, but I'm just curious. I forgot what you gave for it, but I thought it was like next to nothing. I thought the shipping cost more than the purchase.
About the same. I have about 2,500 into buying and shipping it from California to Michigan.
What a good deal. All right, why don't you grab your camera and we want to see that sign. Let's go take a look at it.
All right.
George, can you focus more on Scott's screen?
How are we looking? Because I can't see.
Pretty good.
Okay. Well, here it is. As you see, I don't know if you can see the very bottom. It's pretty smashed up, the arrow. And the neon's gone. I took the big lighted box that they had on top off of it. And there's some more housings up here. So it looks like this actually had neon going down the spine of the sign. And there's some more tube holders back here. So this at one time had neon going up the back and the top of the sign. And this PK housing right here, the neon would have come out of that. So it was probably on the, either it came out of here and went up or it went down the back of the sign. So on getting rid of that terrible looking box kind of uncovered some history I didn't know about the sign.
That looks good, man. That looks real good.
Yeah, I have a neon guy here in Bay City. He's going to make the bottom arrow. So.
Well, I like it. I like it because basically it's raw. It's unrestored. It's really a good looking sign. Yeah. I mean, so you guys just kind of basically hot wired it together and it just fired off, huh?
Pretty much. I cut the end off an extension cord and wired it to the transformer, plugged it in. There it goes.
That's a neat piece, man. What about the liquor store behind you that's flashing? Tell us a little bit about that one.
That's not from Route 66. That's just a local sign. It came from a bar that was called the Silver Derby. And doing a little research on it, we found that when it was originally opened, it was called the Hat. And if you look at the shape of this top of the sign here, let me see if I can get you. It's almost shaped like a derby hat. It kind of comes out at the edges there.
Yeah.
So and interestingly enough, there's a circle here with a blue star in the middle of it. I don't know if that had any significance, but we decided to go with the Hat. That was the original name of the bar.
I love it. I'm glad you guys did that. And that circle with the star was probably another sign from someplace else, and maybe it was repurposed because we see that happen very often with these, right?
We do, and actually the other side is different. If I can show you here.
Al's Liquor.
Yep. We started looking at the paint and the shape of the housings where the tubing comes through, and it was obvious. You can actually see an A right here, an L, and an apostrophe S. So at some point, this was Al's Bar or Al's Liquor also.
I love it. You got all sorts of stuff. Wait, over your right shoulder, I saw some cat eyes. What were the cat eyes? You got a sign back there.
That one?
No, keep going. It was over on the wall to your right. Now,
this guy.
Yeah. What's that?
Oh.
Empire House?
This is another It's called the Empire House Show Bar. It was a local place in Bay City. The building still stands, but it's kind of like monthly rentals now. It would have had double stroke neon with these two holes, so it would have two smaller tubes going around here.
That's really cool.
It's porcelain, and it had all these housings for regular light bulbs. I don't know if I'm going to have it backlit or LEDs or what, but
you should put bulbs in there, man. Even LED, I think it'll look killer.
I'll probably break all the circuits in my house if I put all those light bulbs in.
Oh, it'll be okay. LED, it'll probably draw like 5 watts.
All
right. I was thinking today when I was putting the show together, and I honestly don't know. How did we first meet?
We were Facebook friends, just from, I don't know, one of the pages that we were both on. And that was probably around, I don't know, 2011, 2012. And when I first met you was in the summer of 2014 when my dad and I drove out to Stratford, Missouri to pick up a 50 F1 pickup project. And on my way home, the trailer lights started acting up, and I didn't have a blinker. And I knew that Rich was on the way, and I knew he was pretty heavily into 66. And I messaged him. I said, "Hey, we're coming through your neighborhood. Any way I can stop by the shop and see what's wrong with my lights?" And Rich invited us over, and he went to work and had me fixed up in 10 minutes probably. Just a new ground wire.
Yeah, I remember that now. I was kind of trolling through some of our history together, and I think I did come across that picture. I don't know if the guys have it or not, if they can pop it up, the picture of me working on your trailer, but I remember having to climb underneath it and
it was about 1 million degrees.
What's that?
It was about 1 million degrees that day too.
Well, yeah, it's always muggy down here, but yeah, it was. I didn't know if that was the first time we had met or not, but I guess it was. The time I remember was. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I say what's funny is that years later you bought a asphalt hopper in Midland, Michigan, which was like 15 minutes from me, and you were asking, "Well, how far are you?" And I said, "Well, you can stop you because you were having trouble with your wiring, and you stopped by my shop." So we both stopped by each other's shops with trailer issues.
Kindred spirits. That's what I was saying earlier. Yeah, I had to rewire that whole thing. That thing was all messed up. And little known fact, I ended up selling that hot box. It was a hot box trailer. I sold that to not Millwood, Illinois. Gosh, what's the one where Doc's Soda Fountain is at?
I think you're right.
It's not. Is it Millwood? No.
No. Is it? I know what you mean.
I sold it. I sold it to them though. I sold it to the municipality there where Doc's Soda Fountain is at.
If anybody's watching right now, they're probably screaming the name of the city at the phone.
Yeah, they're commenting like crazy. But I remember one of the first memories I had of us getting together was at a work session at John's Modern Cabins, and I think we got some footage from that. That was a good time. There was a bunch of us that came out there, and we all got together and fixed, shored up the last remaining cabin. Oh, Penny corrected us. It was Girard, Illinois. Thank you, Penny. Girard, Illinois was where I sold that to. Guys, here we go. Let's see that. John's Modern Cabin. So this is what John's Modern Cabin looked like before we got out there and did some work to shore it up. And we can just kind of thumb through the pictures and stuff here. That was a good time. I really miss getting out there.
You killed a copperhead right before we got there.
Yeah, I did. I had to kill a copperhead. Usually with snakes and stuff like that, I kind of let them go their own way, but it was just too dangerous. But let's go back a photo, George. Can we go backwards a little bit? Just one photo. That's what it looked like when we were all finished. I know it didn't say much, but we cleaned it up really well. We got rid of a lot of the vegetation and poison ivy and stuff. I remember poor Elizabeth, she had poison ivy all over her whole body. She was afflicted with it for like 2 months or something.
Yeah, My dad got bit by a couple of ticks while he was working in the cabin. He got bit a couple of times. So we had to get rid of those.
Yeah. So video, George, that we can show.
Sir, you're going to be the source of a meme in just a moment. You got to be kidding me.
Remember this, don't you?
You hand it up to me. I'll start it up here.
I don't have anything. Like,
This is one of the best memories ever.
How many roadies does it take to start a weed eater?
It was you, Joe, and
Elizabeth. Take the choke off.
what am I doing here?
I think Elizabeth gets it.
I don't think she does.
Oh, maybe I had to come down.
No, now it's stuck.
No, it ain't stuck.
I told you.
Look at that. Whoa.
A girl got it.
Oh,
I'm tagging Carla in this video.
Don't tell her.
To Carla, you need a new man. You need a real man.
oh no! I didn't watch the video before I put it out there.
Well, I wouldn't call him a man necessarily.
Yeah, that was pretty good. I was up there. Now I was literally on top of a skid steer bucket, hanging off the sign up there at John's Modern Cabins, and trying to clean the sign out and get trees and stuff off it and stuff like that. And it was a good view. I'm glad I had the phone on me to record that. But yeah, how many roadies does it take to start a weed eater? It takes 3.
I told you, mine's electric. Mine just plugs in, you push the button, and you go. Mine doesn't have. I don't have a fancy one like that.
Well, you probably don't have many weeds to go after, except for 2 or 3 months out of the year, right?
Exactly.
Well, so I'm going to move into. Normally, we would go into our sponsorship, and I'm going to kind of skip that this time. But I want to tell everybody real quick. There's the sign relighting coming up on the 25th of this month. So in 20 days, we are going to have a neon sign relighting in Veneta, Oklahoma. And we're going to show that here in just a second. But if you'd like details on how to join us, just click on that QR code below. It's free as far as I know. But we're also going to restream it out there live for everybody. And so that you can catch it just in case you can't make it out to Oklahoma. So everybody catch that. George, let's see what that sign looks like a little bit closer so people know what we're getting into. There it is right there. So I, for one, have never been inside that cafe. I know it's kind of embarrassing for me to say. Scott, have you been into the cafe before?
I have not.
First time for everything. You know, I people talk about doing Route 66 and what can we see or do? I mean, there's always something new on Route 66, and this is old, but we're going to make it new looking again. So that'll be cool. So I hope to see you there on March 25th. All right, what's up next? So Scott,
Yes, sir.
What's that?
I said, yes, sir.
Oh, sorry. I got a little feedback here. So tell me what got you interested in Route 66?
I've always been a car guy. There's a bunch of cars behind me and up in our other garage too. I got an issue of Hot Rod magazine when I was 10 years old, around 1987. And in the issue, there's a 3-part series. The staffers were retracing Route 66 in a 62 Corvette. So this was only a couple of years after 66 had been decommissioned. At the time, I didn't know that. I was 10. I just thought it was cool that you could take one road and go from Chicago to LA. I didn't know about alternate, alignments and dead ends. I didn't know about it. I just thought it was one road and you couldn't possibly get lost. That's what I thought when I was a kid. So I just had a passing interest and just kind of collected books and whatnot when I was younger. And but I actually didn't get out onto the road until 2006. That was my first time.
So what was so interesting to, let's see, what year did you grab this magazine? Did you see it in 1987?
Yeah, it's like, it might be January 88. It's either December '87 or January '88.
Yeah, we put a copy of it up there for people to see. I found a copy of it and showed it to the audience.
Okay.
I'm probably gonna have to go out to eBay tonight and buy a copy of it just so I can read it.
Yeah, it's a 3-part series, so I think it's the January '88. It's the 40th anniversary of Hot Rod Magazine.
Okay.
That's one of the issues. That's the one I had, and I thought, wow, this is cool. You can drive almost the whole country on one road, and I thought that was a neat idea.
So in January of '88, you were probably like what, 10 to 12 years old, somewhere in the neighborhood?
Yeah, 10.
And you took on an interest in Route 66. That's pretty cool. So you've always been into hot rods and stuff, I guess, right?
Yeah, that's right. I've raced circle track cars when I was right out of high school, and always messed around with race cars and say circle track racing. I built a brand new car, and then they closed my local track down, and my car was completely illegal for every other track around here. So I sold that, and just kind of looking to scratch that itch, I found traditional hot rods, and I started building Model A Fords, and I have a couple 32 Fords with flatheads, and all early Ford drive lines.
We've got a video of your car. Let's pop that up so we can see it. So it's a really neat car.
I hear it.
Yeah, that's a cool car. It's number 21. You built that car with the help of Frank, didn't you?
With more of the knowledge I gained with Frank, he had passed in early 2015, and I got that car on the road in 2015, the fall.
That's a good send off. Yeah, and so that car also. You've raced that car, right?
I have several times. I race in an event called the Race of Gentlemen, and they do it out in Wildwood, New Jersey. It's an 8th mile drag race right on the beach, and it's for 34 and earlier American cars. It's mostly Fords. You'll see Model A's and Model T's and 32s and 34s. And the engines and speed equipment has to be 1953 or earlier. So
wow.
my particular car has a 49 Mercury flathead V8 in it with some go fast parts on it, dual carbs, aftermarket heads and whatnot.
Yeah, there's no overhead valve small block Chevys then. That's
you won't
flathead territory.
Don't see any small block Chevys there.
Yeah. We've got a little clip from the Race of Gentlemen, but before I show the clip, I just have to tell everybody this is from a photographer named Twig, I think. So I found it on Facebook. So I want to give full credit to that photographer of Twig. Let's go ahead and roll it, guys. Everything old school on the beat. Girl waving the flag, getting ready to send you guys off. Let's go.
Away they go.
That's pretty cool. Good stuff.
It's a blast.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of fun. You've been doing that quite a while. How many of those have you gone to?
Every one since 2014, I think. 2013. I went 2 years in a row as a spectator, and then raced 4 years in a row. And we got rained out. COVID knocked out one of the races. Another one I didn't get my new car finished, and then we got rained out this year. I was supposed to race in it again. I'm sorry, last October.
That's a bummer.
Yeah, I've also raced.
So,
go ahead.
I was going to ask you a little bit. You got married within the last year, didn't you? It hasn't been a year yet.
Next month.
Wow. So you're still a newlywed.
Technically, yeah.
You've got all this man cave stuff. You've got the hot rods. You've got old neon signs. You got this Route 66 obsession. Tell us a little bit about your wife. What's her name and everything?
My wife's name is Chelsea. She's an occupational therapist, so she works with patients who've had traumatic brain injuries, spinal cord injuries. I introduced her to 66 in late 2018. We first started seeing each other, and stayed at the Wagon Wheel in Cuba. We went to a concert in St. Louis, actually. And since then, she's been with me on every trip. She's a great, a great travel partner. She drives too. She, if I want to catch some sleep, she doesn't mind driving.
She's a bit of a car fanatic too, right? She's tell us a little bit about her car.
She's got all my hot rods and whatnot. She has the fastest one in our fleet. She has an '87 Buick Grand National. It belonged to her mother, and her mother sold it to her for $32, which was the price of the title transfer. And unfortunately, 10 days later, her mother was killed by a drunk driver.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah, it's pretty sad. So her, as a tribute to her mom, she had the car restored and got it back. It was in pretty rough shape when she got it, but she got it back on the road in 2011 or so, and then putzed around with it. And since I started seeing her, we've had some problems with it, so we just took it down to a guy that specializes in Grand Nationals down in Ohio, and he's got it running great. And we just showed it at Autorama Detroit last weekend.
Yeah, we've got that picture pulled up right now there at Autorama, and the car looks fantastic. It's all factory original, right?
It has a bigger turbo and bigger injectors, but other than that, it's pretty much stock.
Yeah, yeah.
It has the earlier wheels on it.
Those were always the envy of the neighborhood growing up. Anybody who had one of those was someone to contend with for sure. I know used to come up against them quite a bit with my Monte Carlo, but even funnier, people would always mistake the Buicks for Monte Carlos and would really tee off the Buick owners.
For sure, they still do.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway,
Chelsea's here. She's looming around in the background
here. Yeah. Let's say hi to Chelsea in person. There she is. Good to see you, Chelsea.
Good, you too. This is great. I love this.
It's nice to have you. Nice. Thank you for letting him come out and play.
Yeah, he's spending a lot of time out here, and it needs to be organized a little bit so he can spend all the time he wants.
Oh, it looks good. I'm very impressed with this collection. Before you know it, it's going to be more neon signs and less hot rods.
Oh, no. No, I still have some hot rod out in New Jersey. I got one outside right now. I might have to thin the fleet down a little bit, but there's all.
Well, you could always sell a couple to me. We'll put them down at the Shamrock or someplace.
There you go.
Backyard ornaments. That'll be good. Well, before we go into why I really brought you on, which is to talk about your Jack Rittenhouse research, I want to mention we've got some chats here. Nolan Stoltz, he's saying to everybody, Chelsea used to have an excellent last name.
Oh.
So Chelsea's maiden name was Stoltz.
That's correct.
Yeah,
I ruined it.
Thank you, Nolan. But so what I want to talk about next is let's see here. Last week we were going to go over. We were talking about the tip of the day, and the tip was for when people are planning their first trip, what should they do? And we talked about some of the things you should do while embarking on your first trip before you do that. And it was get together your research and make somewhat of a loose plan. But I've got a viewer video this week. It's our first viewer video, and it comes all the way from down under, from Australia. Rose Holmes and Ian Mez from South Wales. They decided to send me a little viewer video. Let's take a look at it, guys.
G'day, Roamin. Just having a look through our books on Route 66, and we do have a fair few of them. It's even all of these, this one, this one, and this one's well travelled with little tabs.
Gary's book. She's showing Jerry McClanahan's book.
And this one. And this one.
The Ghost Towns from Jim Hinckley is another one.
But at AAA in California, I think we were near. I'm not sure where we were near. Somewhere near LA, AAA, and the lovely lady there gave us this, which has got a map of all the sites to see and the map right across, which is pretty good.
That's a pretty good video. So,
I don't know whether they still do it. We got this in 2019.
So that was a good video. That was Rose and Ian showing off their collection of Route 66 maps and books. And one of the things that Rita and I talked about last week, this was in episode 3, was when she first went, she tried to use AAA maps, but they didn't have any. Now Rose has gone and showed us that AAA has gotten hip to the timely tip and has put together a Route 66 trip map. So for people that are interested, you can go to AAA and get their maps. They look pretty good. So I want to say thanks to Rose and Ian for sending me that video message. If you guys would like to send me a video message, it could be anything, just a shout out, a tip, or a suggestion, or just a comment or a question would be great. Easiest way to find me is on Facebook, and just send me a video message. I'd love to see it. Scott, what did you think about that?
Yeah, lots of good stuff. It's nice to see the interest from foreign travelers. I mean, it's almost like they're the bread and butter of 66, today, and definitely missed them during COVID. It's just amazing how you can look through any guest book where you're at and see people from around the world every page. It's really incredible. Everybody that loves Route 66 really appreciates the love from other countries besides us.
Yeah, it's just interesting. If you do it right, you'll be back again. So that's part of your planning, is just, to relax a little bit, go and see some of the, what we call low-hanging fruit, and catch some of those easier sites to see. It really is based on how much time you have. That's what you have to base your wish list on, is how much time you have, and just know that you're not going to see it all, and you could always come back, but you want to make the most out of the time that you have allotted. Scott, I'm not going to do a tip this week. Do you have any? You have any tips for our viewers this week, Scott?
I would say that Google Maps is your friend, and use that as, it's such a great free reference. I will go over, the area I'm about to explore, and if there looks like there might be a piece of curbing that I don't recognize, if it looks like there was a semicircular driveway, I'll drop a pin, and then when I actually get to the spot, I'll just drive right to the pin, and I'll get out of the car, and maybe it's something that you wouldn't see in the summer, but you can see in the fall or the winter when the vegetation's low. Stuff that you miss that you can't always see. If you have a great aerial view like that, it's an invaluable tool. I mean, I have tens of thousands of pins on my Route 66 map. You can't even hardly see. There's so many blue pins on it. That's one of my main tools, and I know a lot of other people use it as well. But get good with Google Maps, and just do a little pre-exploration. And even use the street view to drive if it's a place that you can drive on there. If you're coming to a confusing intersection, it's definitely a helpful tool. For sure,
that's one thing that us young guys, us young explorers and researchers, we've and I don't take it for granted, but we're a bit spoiled, because we can go back and look at the Google Maps satellite, or even look at Google Earth satellite photos. Which on Google Earth, you can rewind the clock, and sometimes it's helpful, sometimes it's not. You can rewind the clock, usually 20, 30 years, I think. And then there's that website called historicaerials.com, which also, yeah, that's a good one too. And, some of our predecessors, and they're still at it, like Jerry McClanahan and Jim Ross and some of those guys, and Tom Teague. They didn't have that luxury of going out to the satellite and dropping pins I've seen some of Jim Ross's work. I hope to have him on the show here at some point. Where he used to take grid paper and sketch out the route of where he thought it went on grid paper according to scale. And I tell you what, I would love to buy one of those from him. I told him that once when I saw him. I said, man, I'll give you $100 for that right now. And he was like, he just laughed at me because it's a piece of work. It's art. I mean, I like this research is really something. I've got some of Jerry McClanahan's sketches of Lava Hata up on my wall because to me they're artwork. But yeah, the satellites have really made it easy for us.
Yeah, we definitely have it a lot easier than the guys before us, that's for sure.
Yeah. So George, what are we looking at as far as chat goes? We got any chatters? You want to pop them on a screen or anything?
Absolutely, we do. We got to rewind here a little bit. You guys had a couple questions right there at the beginning. Where we at here? A lot of hellos. Oh my lordy, a lot of hellos.
Hello.
Hey,
Chris, no, where was this? Elizabeth Olwig what was very interested in Scott's weed whacker skills.
She was the one that got it started.
Yeah, I think she stalled it though.
Here you go. Here's a nice question for you.
Let's see here. I gotta clear my screen. We got a question here. Who faked the stolen sign at John's Modern Cabins? Well, that was me. That was my April Fool's joke. I think, gosh, when was that? That was
A while ago.
2018 or 16. I don't even remember. But yeah, it was, no, it was the second cabin was still there. I remember because I don't have the video. I had the video on last episode. We didn't show it. But I actually took my version of the sign out there and put it inside that old cabin that was falling down and took some video and took some pictures of it. It was amazing getting that shot through what remaining panes of glass were in the windows. And it wasn't just a few months later, that whole thing was on the ground and collapsed. But so it must have been about 2016 or so. But that was me that faked the stolen sign. And I had a motive. My motive was in dealing with what does the term rescuing come down to? I know Scott and we probably feel the same way about trophy hunters and rescuing things. Above all, we want to leave things on Route 66 in their native environment, in their place. Only at the last resort do we take those signs down and put them someplace, and preferably we put them in a public place where people don't have to pay to see them. Am I wrong, Scott? Do you feel any differently?
Oh, you're absolutely right. And that was the unfortunate timing of the LeBrun sign was while the summer of, 2019, when all the signs in the Southwest started disappearing. And I was a pretty vocal critic of it. And then this one popped up and I bought it. So it kind of looked bad, but
it's a little different though. It's a little different than, going to a property owner where a sign is still standing when people are still coming by to take photos of it. And a guy going like this saying,
right,
I'll give you a lot of this for that sign. And then he whisks it off to Lord knows where into a private collection. I don't condone that at all.
Like I said, the sign I had, it sat right on 66 in the front of the El Garces Harvey house for a year, and nobody local was interested in it.
Unbelievable.
It was kind of like a preempt. I didn't want it to go into one of those other situations like you were just talking about. I bought it. It was almost a defensive measure, and I didn't honestly think I'd win it. And I ended up losing it.
We love it. What else you got, George?
A nice little segue then. Do you have any authentic Route 66 signs in your collection? And then other than eBay, do you know where you can find one to purchase?
This is from Jorge Mendez. Thank you, Jorge, for that comment. So, Jorge, all the signs you see behind me, they are authentic. They are as legit as they come. There is one, let's see here. Right, if I can, I'm pointing backwards. The Illinois sign back there. Those were reproduced by the state of Illinois, the prison system. I guess there was such fanfare over Route 66 that they reproduced those signs. So That's the only one I would say isn't a real legitimate Route 66 sign, although it was produced by the state. So I've got it up there anyway. As far as eBay and stuff, man, I'll tell you, I graded a sign for a fellow the other day, and I'm no sign expert. I mean, I'm sure I could be fooled, but and he paid about $3,000 for this sign. It was a lot like the one right over my left shoulder here. Except for smaller. It was a smaller one, but I tell you, I'm so skittish now of anything I see on eBay, especially if it's over $1,000. I would just be very, very concerned. There's so many fakes out there now, and there's a lot of companies overseas that are reproducing porcelain signs now, which I don't feel bad about because it helps to continue our history. But as long as they're not perpetrating them as original authentics, I love seeing those reproduction signs. But spend as much as you're willing to risk is what I always say. Thanks, Jorge. What do we got? What else is next, George?
I think I got one more good question before we move on here. Larry to ask us, have you ever heard of or read a book called Blue Highways? It's about exploring America on the blue secondary roads instead of the interstates. Did you hear that, Scott?
I have not heard of that. No, I haven't. Blue Highways?
Yeah. I've heard of it. I don't own it. I could probably write a book like that, but I mean, wherever I go exploring and roaming around, I'm sure Scott would say the same thing. I could be in the middle of Wisconsin or Iowa, and if I got the time, you won't find me on the interstate. I'll be traveling an old road, and not just a U.S. highway, because a lot of those are modern. I'm going to try to find the oldest original version of that old road, which, I mean, you're talking Lincoln Highway, Meridian Highway, all these different varied highways before they came into the numbering system in the 1920s. But no, it's probably a good book. I'm sure I'll have to take a look at it. I really appreciate that, Larry, for the suggestion.
Well, we're going for this. Jorge popped in another question. It's a two-parter. Jorge, I'm going to be the mean guy and say you can't answer both questions, but I'm going to read off this first one here. Hold on here. What guidebooks or history books do you guys recommend for Route 66? He's about to take a 10 to 12-day trip. And is there any books that you guys have in particular that you guys would recommend to people taking a trip?
Scott, go ahead, man.
Obviously, the Easy 66 guide, Jerry McClanahan's book. I mean, that's the go-to for everyone. Pretty much everybody that's into 66 has a copy of that.
Yeah, Gary Turner had it down pat when people would come through and they weren't real sure about how they were doing their trip. You would buy the Easy guide because, one, it's spiral bound, so you don't have to worry about it flipping clothes on you while driving if you hit a bump. It's spiral bound, so you can flip it and lay it flat on your lap or set it up on your dash. It does a real nice job. And then to accompany that, he used to always push David Wickline's Images of Route 66. And I think David's come out with a latter version of that because it's getting to be pretty old, the first version. And that's more of a picture book where you go through and it's all in chronological order. So those are the books I would recommend. Amongst others, you could buy a bunch of different books, including, if you want to get real hardcore, you could get the one that Scott's going to talk about here tonight, the Jack Rittenhouse book, and see if you can find anything in here. And there's a few things left, but not too many. Thanks again, Jorge.
And some people have been asking about that Rittenhouse book, so I'm going to jump off, and it's time for you guys to talk about that book. Have fun, gentlemen.
Yeah, we're going to probably go over our 66 minutes, but that's okay. We can do what we want here. So, this is the book. This is an original copy that I got.
Nice.
Says $1 on it. That was a pretty good amount of money in 1946, wasn't it?
Absolutely.
So what got you into this book, Scott? Tell us a little bit about what it is you're trying to do. I think you should probably start off, though, with your ultimate goal of what it is you're trying to do and work backwards as to how that motivated you to do what it is you're doing.
Well, I've always wanted to be a writer, and someday I would definitely like to say that I'm a Route 66 author. So I've been working on a project to try and find, as much as possible that Rittenhouse saw that's still around, and over 70 years later, there's some things are maybe just a bare foundation or a pump island, and some of the places are actually still in business. So that's what I'd eventually like to do.
Image here now.
Pardon?
Go ahead, Scott. We're connection cut now. What were you saying? I'm sorry.
Oh, I just said that that I'd eventually like to work this all into a book. I've been researching it for about 5 years now, and just finding little pieces of curbing, finding some stonework, finding a foundation or a pump island, and looking at the 1946 guidebook. And Jack is very vague. If you've read the book or even perused it, very vague, and the mileage is not not very good at all. So I'll try to find places that are within reasonable distances of places he noted, and see what's still left from what Jack saw in 1946.
So, Scott, you can't see our screen, can you?
I see a small building. I can't see what it is though.
So this one I know. This is the Scullies, and just right near St. Clair, Missouri.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, and that's still there.
Yep,
This is
still
one of
there.
Scott's pictures. This is one where he kind of tried to recreate somewhat of the view. That building is still there, and actually, the Missouri Route 66 Association, we have their original neon sign.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's supposed to go into a neon park in St. Robert, Missouri, sometime in the next 50 years. They're dragging their feet a little bit down there in St. Robert. What else we got, fellas? So the next image. Oh, this is a good one. This is Art's Motel Cabins.
The motel. Yep.
Is that in St. Clair or is that in Sullivan?
Boy, I want to say St. Clair.
I think it is.
Yeah, I believe St. Clair.
I mean, that's really cool because I've passed a lot of these buildings, and it's just kind of crazy how prominent looking they were in their old postcard images. But then you drive by them today, and they've been kind of homogenized and kind of diluted down. We have modern shingles on it. They have, like, this one has some vinyl siding and stuff on it. So it really camouflages its original character traits from when it was a Route 66 business. And I think now this place happens to be a salon or a real estate agent office or something, it looks like. It's lost its neon sign. It used to have pump islands out front, retaining wall, and neat looking place. What else we got, guys? Oh, this one I know for sure. Okay. That says Perkins on it. It was an old mobile gas station. It was a large gas station. I know I had painted one of my original Route 66 shields out in front of it. Most people don't see this particular section of 66, Scott. I don't know if can you see the picture?
Yeah, I know. I can see it. The building's gone, but that big approach to it is still there. Like, you kind of enter a curve, and you can pull right, right where the approach is in the bottom left of the screen.
Yeah, there's a ton of concrete out there. It almost looked like a truck stop. It was almost big enough to be a truck stop. Yeah. That one there, I don't know if you remember or not, but that one's on just a little orphaned section of 66 that most people traveling the byway, as the signs would tell you to, they would never see this.
Yeah.
I got to switch cameras, George. My camera died.
Uh-oh.
I was worried about that. Hold on a second. That's okay. I'm prepared. I got a backup camera. There it is. Okay. All right. I'm back on again. Yeah, my battery was dying. I meant to keep closer tabs on it. But anyway, yeah, that little section of 66 there is one that most people would never even understand was 66. And that's why I feel compelled felt compelled to put a Route 66 shield out there, but I haven't done it since 2012. That's a pretty dangerous section of road there. Cars come whizzing through there pretty quick. What do we have next on there, George? This is another one down by Burbis Valley. Yeah, tell us about this one, Scott.
I think it's the Hilltop.
Yes.
Okay, a gas service station. You can still see part of the foundation there, and the hill behind the fence is still there. I don't know if the concrete saddles that hold that tank are still there. I didn't climb up the the hill. It's someone's property now, but yeah, it's just a wide spot in the road. But if you know where it's at, you can pull right off and stand in the exact same spot this photographer stood. And
yeah, that's not too far from Burbis Valley. I know at some point I thought they had an old billboard still on the property there about 10 or 15 years ago. I got a picture of it someplace.
Okay.
But yeah, that was a neat spot in the road.
I think there's some rocks. That's how you can see where there's some rocks separating the drive from the road. There's still like a row of big stones. And so if you'll see the stones, you'll know where the spot was.
Yeah, I see the big giant boulders there. What else we got, George? Oh, I don't know. I don't know what this one is.
Pin Oak Motel.
Where is that? Is that in the same area?
Yeah, it's just past Villa Ridge, like right by where the Keys. It was right next door to the Key Cafe and service station.
That is cool. See that? People would drive by and they would see that little nondescript little. I don't even call it. You don't even call it a cottage. It's more like a
office, I think, is what that was.
Yeah. It's just a little hut. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a self-storage place for a long time. I can't remember if that stuff's gone now. Just the offices there. I can't remember. But yeah, the small building in the center of the postcard is still there.
That's not too far from the Sunrise, is it?
No, same area.
Yeah, I think I do have images of that. I think one of the hotel wings is still there. I remember getting some pictures of it about 8 years ago.
Yeah. The if you ever go to the Steiny's Roadhouse, right there at the 66 State Park.
Yeah.
The sign, that big key sign, that neon sign that's in the kind of by the building, that was next door to that. Just one lot over to the west. Same side of the road. So that's where that sign came from. Was right next door to the Pin Oak Motel.
Speaking of that key sign, and I don't have an image to pop up here right now, but it resides at the Route 66 State Park. It's a little weary looking. It's one of our efforts to get that sign relit this year. We actually talked the park superintendent to allowing us to go look for the switch. And we found the wire for it, but it was cut off.
Oh, nice.
Somebody cut the wire off. So at some point, being that it's not too far from my home, I might grab my electrician and go out there and see what it is we can do to get electricity out to that sign. I know it won't light up because a lot of the neon's broken, but I think we could have it relit pretty easily. What else we got, George? Oh, I love this one. Can you see that one, Scott? This is my favorite.
Yeah, it looks like the Petrified Forest.
Yeah, that is the Petrified Forest. And did you take that picture?
I possibly. I can't tell. It's about the size of a thumb postage stamp on it right now.
I mean, it's exact. I mean, whoever took the comparison picture just nailed the original.
No, I definitely didn't take that one.
Okay. Well, unknown photographer, you get credit. I'm sorry. But yeah, somebody nailed that. And I know I toured the park with one of the park paleontologists, Bill Parker, a couple of years ago, and he took me to some of those spots with the before and after images with Albert Einstein and a few others. Right. But we didn't see that one. That's a great one.
Yeah, we were just there in November.
Neat place. If you're going down 66 through Arizona, you got to stop and see the Painted Desert and the Petrified Forest. You could spend 2 days there, but you owe it to yourself to go and check it out. What's next, fellas? Another one of my favorites.
Yeah, the Magnolia Cafe.
Where is that at? I know where it is, but I'm asking you.
Was it Allen Reed?
It is in Allen Reed.
Yeah, Allen Reed, Texas.
Yep.
Yeah,
I know that station well. It was one of the first disappointments I had on Route 66. My wife and I came up on it, I think, in 2008. I think we came up on it. She was still pregnant. And, the station was not horrible shape. And, at the end of the islands, the pump islands, they used to have like these little lollipop signs.
Yep.
And they had a sign base to them. Well, the sign base was still there, and it said gargoyle shooting across it. And I thought, wow, how cool is that that's still there? I came back a year later, it was gone.
Oh, of course.
What a bummer, man. I was really bummed out.
Crazy
It was neat to see it in its natural environment. But yeah, that's another one of those shots. So Jack Rittenhouse had featured that.
I don't believe he mentioned the Magnolia Cafe, but he might have just said cafe, which is, he did. If you only have one cafe in the town and he mentions cafe,
Yeah,
pretty safe bet.
I heard a lot of rumors from the older people that you probably didn't have a good chance of making it into Jack's book unless you paid to play, so to speak.
I can see that happening.
Yeah. He's driving across the United States. He's got to pay for his gas somehow, I would think. Either free food, free motel, or something.
Right. It's crazy. Allen Reed is such a small little place. There were actually multiple courts there. And,
yeah.
I wouldn't think about it now, but it must have been a lot busier back then.
There's not much there today, and there's really not much in the way of relics there today either. There's not much evidence there.
It's the just this station, and then the super service station.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe there is a motor court still with or I guess you'd call it a motel. It's maybe 3 or 4 units. That's a little east of those, the station there.
Yeah.
And there's another one right across the street. There's like a 2-room motel. Her cabin's right across the street as well. And then there was another one where the church is on I guess it'd be the southwest part of town. Directly across from where the church is, there was a large motor court, probably 7 or 8 units.
Yeah. So, George, do we have any more of these comparison shots? Let's see, 1 or 2 more. Oh, these are good ones here. I've seen these, the KVO Modern Courts.
Oh, yeah. On my screen, I'm only seeing the postcard. It doesn't show. I don't see the other photo.
Yeah, that's a good one there.
That was named by Rittenhouse. He did mention that one, and that one is still around.
It's
still occupied. It's you can't stay there. It's monthly rentals, but it's still there and it's in nice shape. It's on the east side of Tulsa.
Yeah. Next one, George. Toby's Beauty Rest Court. Now this one, I'm not totally sure where that one's at.
It's actually right by the KVO.
Okay.
It's on the east
so
side.
It's in Tulsa also.
Yep. That wasn't named in the guidebook, but I remember seeing it and thought, wow, this had to have been a 66, court or motel at some point. And then I went, if you haven't, do yourself a favor and go to Joe Sonnerman's page, the 66postcards.com. It's incredible. I mean, you can find a building, not know what it is, and then just start going through all those postcards. And that's how I found this one.
He seems to have an endless supply of postcards. I think.
Oh my God, yeah.
Between him and Steve Ryder and Mike Ward, I mean, they probably collectively have about, I don't know, 100,000 postcards together.
Every card you can imagine. Yeah. They've those guys and that site has solved a lot of mysteries for me. Just I'll find a building, I don't know what it is, and I'll just pop on that page, and a lot of the times it'll be there.
Yeah. This is the one I've been waiting for. This is one that I had seen a bunch of times in Villa Ridge. And I thought that had to be something, but I don't know what. Tell us what it was, Scott.
I think it's the American or the America Inn. I can't see what it says.
Yeah, American Inn.
Yeah, the American Inn. Okay. Yeah, and that's still there. The large building on the right in the postcard is gone, but the main structure is still there. The one on the left with like the turret on top. That's still there. It's a private residence. I think it was a daycare.
Over to some of Scott's.
Pardon?
I think so. Yeah, you know, it's just again like a point where it's difficult to recognize what they may have been at one time.
I think this one was a daycare center.
Yeah.
Most recently. But there was some construction equipment next to it in the spot where the other building was the last time I went through there, so I don't know what's happening with it.
We're going to pull a couple other images that you sent us earlier, Scott, I think. No, we're not. George says we're not. Oh, okay. We had a little trouble trying to get things uploaded tonight. I didn't get the show on task as quickly as I should have, but do it in my part-time, doing the best I can. So, Scott, what else do you have that you might want to add? Where can we find you at?
I guess my, Facebook, Scott Sheehan. I'm on a lot of the Route 66 sites, Facebook pages. I'm on Instagram, Model A Butcher, one word, MODELA Butcher.
Yeah, we're posting up there on the screen right now. Model A Butcher. You got quite a big following on there.
Yeah, that's mainly my hot rods and stuff like that, travel and racing around. I have a couple other pages. One's for like neon signs and mid-century design, and then I have another one for Route 66 mysteries. Not as much traffic on those, and I don't really, I don't really utilize those too much, but I try to pop on some new content every now and then.
Yeah. Well, Scott, can you tell us anything more about Jack Rittenhouse or about the book that you would like to write here one day?
It's difficult. If you're going to use that as a guide, I'd recommend against it. He rounded up all the mileage, and then if you look at the beginning of the book, it says mileage starts at a major intersection or bridge or other significant piece of infrastructure. Well, that's not a great starting point.
It's probably changed over the course of the last 80 years. Yeah.
Yep. So between rounding up and not knowing where he's starting, well, it's difficult. And like I said, there might have been some pay to play. So named places are far and few between. There's a lot of cafe, gas, grocery, stuff like that in there. But it's fun, and I'm trying to be as accurate as I can. And even if things look like they line up, and then I'll check back on the historic or vintage aerials, and if it looks like that place wasn't there until the 60s, well then that wasn't it, and you got to move on to the next.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. It's one of the first books I had when I started my research, and I thought to myself in a very naive manner, well, I'll just thumb through this book and line it up with an atlas today, and what could be so hard? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
it's really hard. That's one gift Scott here has that I don't have. He's got a keen eye when it comes to building relics and things like that. I'm more a road seeker. I can find old roads and pathways, but he can find the buildings. I mean, together we're probably unstoppable, huh, Scott?
Force to be reckoned with.
Yeah.
Yeah, you find me a piece of stonework, I'll try to find the building that was associated with it.
Well, and I get lucky every once in a while. I know down there at Devil's Elbow, at the old Devil's Elbow Cafe, I found that pump island the one day. I got out of my truck and kicked the dirt, and when I kicked it, I found concrete, and I was like, what? And I started kicking more dirt, and the whole concrete pump island is still there from that old cafe. It's pretty cool.
The little pump house is probably still in a little rubble pile next to it.
Yeah, that was from all the floods we had. But
Right.
all right, folks, thanks for tuning in. Again, I want you to please share if you like what we're doing. Share it to other people that you know. We want to ask for some donations because we can't do it alone. This is put on by several of us, and it does cost quite a bit of money. So if you're feeling like you'd like to donate, we would love to have that. Please also send us your suggestions and comments. Viewer videos would be welcomed as well. I'd like to feature those on the show if possible. Lots of other things. We're going to be streaming to Patreon here at some point for those of you that do that. If you want to follow me, you can find me on all the various places like Facebook, YouTube. Again, we're also streaming to Twitch now. You can also find me on Google Maps. That's another one that I've been participating on pretty heavily the last couple of years is my Google Maps profile. We'll put up a link to that too, right there. That's right there. If you click on that link, that'll take you to my QR code that takes you to Google Maps, and that'll get you to my profile. You can follow me there, and you can see kind of what I do on a weekly basis in my real life. And there's usually good reviews. There's some bad reviews. They're all legit.
I want the bad one.
Yeah. So again, thanks for your support. We'll see you again next Sunday at 7:00. And as always, go your own way. We're Roman Rich and Scott Sheehan and Chelsea, the beautiful Chelsea. Thanks for coming out.
Thanks for having us.
We'll see you guys again. Thanks.